Well, good morning, everybody. It's Barkley's Homegrown Geothermal Greenhouse, 19th of March. I haven't. Hattie and Molly did one the other day, I guess, but I haven't done one for a while. So, Molly's Easter grass and then some other stuff she has started. We got some new new tools for the greenhouse. Uh, you know, a microscope, a couple different Brix testers, and so the Brix testers will measure the sugar on the plants, and the higher the sugar level, it's supposed to correlate with the higher the nutrient level is in the fruit or the vegetable. Then we're always talking about soil health and soil biology. And Hattie was really wanting a microscope. So we got a microscope. And that ought to really help us even out on our farm land, just to see what the bacteria, fungi ratios and things are. They're just doing a lot of neat studies on that, and using compost teas and some fairly simple ways to add biology to our soil fast. Okay, coming into the grow bed. A lot of our brassicas, the kale, the cabbages, Brussels sprouts, we got a big kohlrabi. They're all going to seed. Our lettuce is bolting and going to seed. And probably eventually we'll probably, I don't want to say kill, but not allow these plants to get this far, and we'll use that space for other production. But right now, again, we're just trying to focus on the soil health, and then just the whole ecosystem within our greenhouse. You know, they're putting on flowers, and hopefully, you know, we have some native pollinators in here. The more native pollinators are a little smaller. Some of the native bees are tiny. So we're hoping to maybe attract some of that stuff. And it's so it's pretty early for like outside. So a lot of the pollinating we're doing right now is just hand pollinating with the paintbrush, a little itty bitty paintbrush. Every time we walk through here, we'll pollinate the flowers. We had some potatoes sprouting, so Molly and Kendall planted them, and you know, they're doing pretty well. We just have the one tub, but just goes to show that we could start potatoes in here probably December. You know, the carrots that we planted last September, we've got pretty much all harvested. You know, this north grow bed through the winter could all be carrots. So if we're focusing on year-round vegetable food production, you know, we found through this last winter that the brassicas really do well, that the carrots, a lot of the root vegetables do well through the winter. Not so much the summer, like the tomatoes and cucumbers and stuff like that. So, yeah, so let's just go through some of the trees. The pomegranate trees are just doing great. We had a lemon tree, or Myers lemon, that was in a pot that didn't make it. Our Newell's clementines are doing well. You know, we're fighting aphids still. We bought some green lacewing larvae and eggs that we put in here for natural predators, and in the next 10 days or so, should be interesting. We'll maybe be seeing a lacewing or two flying around. We put I don't know, a million eggs and larvae out, or a lot. $127 worth anyways. But what they do is they work on these fresh leaves and stunt these trees back, and we'll see a web every now and then, so we're thinking maybe spider mites. we were doing a lot of neem oil last year, and it doesn't rain in here. It's covered, and we were thinking that maybe these leaves were getting coated with neem oil and we were suffocating them. You can see some of the buildup on these leaves. So now what we do, and I was probably using a little too much neem oil, right? That's just our nature. But now what we do is we do a little combination. We'll do the neem oil, and then 4 days later I'll come, or Kendall or Molly will come with our little 2-gallon sprayer. And we'll spray it just with water, just give it a nice washing, and some of that pressure knocks the aphids off also. And then the day after that, or 2 days, we'll come, and Kendall has some peppermint extract. We'll put peppermint extract in the water and then do the same thing. And that just sort of knocks more of the aphids off, and then that peppermint oil is more of a deterrent than it is a killer. And then when the aphids get to where we think they're getting bad enough again, we'll do neem oil. Okay, and then just do the process over again. But this is a kohlrabi flower. A lot of these, or no, this is Brussels sprouts here. This is the kohlrabi here. And we left this kohlrabi because it's just a beautiful plant and healthy looking. And we did do a Brix on one of the leaves, and it was only 5. I was surprised because the aphids have pretty much left it alone. So I thought the higher the sugar content, the bugs can't digest that, so then they leave it alone. It's a natural tell that maybe you have high Brix and stuff. And and that was in the morning before we were waiting for Fiers and the gang from Minokan Farms to come out. And so the Brix, as the day goes on, the Brix gets higher. Some parsley, and it's going to seed too. It's bolting and going to seed, which I guess we're all right with that. We're just gonna let it go. I like to snip off a piece and eat it every time I'm in here. Wally has some starts going. Peach tree is just amazing. When we get that, and and we thought it was maybe dead last year. It lost all its leaves, and it even has some peaches on it. When we get down there, I'll show you. Kale on the other side. So last year we had the tomatoes up against the Lexan, and they just grew just so hard up against that plastic. And as I mentioned earlier, so we're going to plant them in the basement, in which we have down here. And they're going to crawl up these new trellises that Molly and Kendall put in. They're sort of in the shade, right? Even with the morning sun, for sure. We get some reflective value out of the white on the background and the galvanized, so the sunlight's going to bounce around, but they are going to be a little slower. But then we'll get the west sun, the evening sun, and it comes more and hits a little better. Here's something we really learned. So the cucumbers did so well up against the Lexan last year, but we planted them later, right? So Molly had some beautiful ones started, and we planted them up against the Lexan, sort of where they were last year. and they're just not doing very well at all. You know, this one might be coming out of it. Well, what happened was is we're so close up against that Lexan that they're in the shade, and cucumbers need full sun. By the time we realized we better get the grow lights on them, I think it was a little too late. But learn something all the time. And also, this works as a water, like the evaporation or the condensation goes up on the Lexan and then it runs down and waters, keeps it pretty wet along the base of the Lexan. And that's pure water, right? That's basically went through a natural distilling process. Cucumbers need a lot of water. You know, the cucumber itself, the vegetable, high percentage water. But we might be waterlogging these. And the microclimate changes so fast. If we would have been 18 inches my way or north of where they're planted, they would have been in the more in the morning and afternoon sun. And then, you know, we have these big plants. So this big kale plant, on the other side of these kale plants is some more cucumbers, and they're sort of getting shaded from the evening or the afternoon sun. Probably right now my most favorite part of the garden has been the celery, tucked in back here. You know, we planted it last spring and sort of forgot about it, and Molly was cleaning the cover crop up out in front of it, and it's like, hey, there's our grove of celery. And we planted it 6 foot across the back, and it's just been a lot of fun. Really flavorful, and it stayed. I mean, it's just, I suppose it's gonna bolt and go to seed on us too, but in the time being, it's been a lot of fun. This is some of the media that the lacewing larvae came in, so we sprinkled that all around the greenhouse. Ginger, my dog, is knocking at the door. She likes to come in here, but I kicked her out while I was doing this video. All right, lots and lots of radishes we planted, and probably should have planted more. You know, they only take a month. And okay, so here's a really good example of the aphids. Really working on that little radish, so we're hoping the lacewings kick in here shortly so they can go around and harvest on that. But you know, they got that particular guy, and the ones around them, you know, don't have it. I'm just gonna help the lacewings out. I'm just gonna smush them little guys. They're telling us something, and that something is that we have way too much nitrogen. Way too much nitrogen in our system. And they're trying to keep the foliage down. They're sort of Mother Nature's way of slowing the plant down. So, okay. Down here. More radishes. This microclimate, we have some moss growing. It's so wet back there, so we're just gonna have to do a little bit more research to see what likes that wet of a system. Or we could actually put a collection on the back end of that, collect that fresh water, and dry that up. But for right now, we're just gonna try and find something that likes it a little better. All right, back maybe to the trees. Some of them aren't as tall, but I guess these are more bushes anyways. When we bought them, it's a lemon and lime together, that one and that one. But our orange trees, are they the Cara orange? No, the Valencia orange. We overbought, so we got them in pots, and we just put them around, and they seem to really like this area. So this is probably next spring. we'll let them go through this year, but then when they go dormant this winter and more towards spring, probably February, spring in here, we will put them in the ground. Just some more Brussels sprouts going to flower. These were peppers that actually got froze off during the December freeze, and they're coming back from the root. We'll, we'll see how they go, but there's a good chance we're going to terminate them. Yeah, just some more. We're going to let everything fruit this year. Last year we rubbed all the fruit off, but just a couple fruits. This year we're just going to let everything that wants to fruit, and just see how it goes. These plants that are in the pots, a lot of them are semi-dwarf, and they can stay in the pots. We can take them in and out of here, even for their life cycle. Actually, they say we just have to put, as they get bigger, just put them in bigger pots. Oh, this is the catnip from. It's native. We didn't plant it, and we're starting to get a little bit more of it. So we'll maybe terminate some of them. But onions I planted last year going to seed. We're gonna if we get some seed production off of this stuff, we're gonna keep some seeds and plant it back in here. This is those miniature cabbages, so you learn something. They were, we thought, oh, they're gonna get another cabbage. Well, they were just bolting. They're biennial. They fruit vegetable the first year, and then they seed produce the next year. And when you're in a controlled environment that they never die because of the elements, they get to go to seed. That big old kale plant going to seed. This little tab here is what the lacewing, we bought larvae and eggs. So we have different stages of development, and the eggs come on these little sticky strips, and when they hatch, they'll turn into the larva, and hopefully the larva is what attacks the aphids. All right, our peach tree again. Here's our little peaches. There's 6 or 7. Not all the flowers that we pollinated are going to have peaches, but there's, I think, 6 or 7 little peaches on this peach tree. And so far he looks like he's just doing the best out of anything. The worms, you can tip up any one of these pots, and have worms. They just are absolutely thinking this is the cat's meow. It's another thing we learned when Jay was here, and Kathy and the gang. If we mix molasses with worm juice in a mixture and spray on these plants, they're finding that it's not killing the aphids, but it's giving the aphids sort of a fake sense of a high Brix, because the molasses raises the sugar level, so they're tasting that, and they're avoiding the plants too. So like our peppermint's making them avoid the plants because of the smell. They're putting like a fake high sugar content on the leaves, and it's allowing them to control their aphids on their trees, they think some. So we're gonna try that too for sure. Yeah, so with that, we got Hattie's ball game this afternoon, and I told Molly I would do her greenhouse chores this morning. We had a calf that got a little cold last night. Our second one of the year, but our first one of when they were supposed to calve on our rebreeds, not our main bunch. Our main bunch won't be for another 3 weeks, but yeah, big calf, and I don't know, when you only see 1 or 2 of them, you get little bit antsy, so maybe I jumped the gun, but I brought it to the house and Molly's taking care of it. All right, well, I hope everybody enjoyed it and continues following along, and want to give a shout out to Howard and Linda down in Florida, our aunt and uncle. Howard really enjoys these YouTube videos, and Linda does too. They're great supporters of ours, so hope everything's going well down there for those two. And by the way, we feel like we're in Florida in here this morning. It was 80 degrees. All right, have a good day.